In this video we will look at the most exciting game of day 2 between Carlsen and Nakamura in the final. Carlsen has white, Nakamura has black. The game began d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, and we have a repeat of the same opening. D takes c4. After e4, white gets the center. Black plays this weird pawn move with b5, defending his pawn on c4. You can't play knight takes b5 because white will lose his central pawn. That's why here white goes e5, and after knight d5, knight takes b5. Pawn structure is so ugly. How to defend the c4 pawn? Knight b6. So we already saw this opening before. If you want to check out this game, I'm going to include a card to this game in the top right corner. Knight b6 and a4. Here we have the change from game 1. In the other game, a3 was played by Carlsen, but he goes a4 now. The idea is to go a5 to kick the knight away, but also the pawn on a4 defends the knight on b5. Black could play a6 to kick the knight away, but no. Nakamura plays queen d7 instead. So then you can't push the pawn because your knight will drop. So after queen d7, bishop e2, knight c6. Nakamura heads for the b3 square. Castle, knight a5 and knight g5. So a few attacking ideas by Carlsen. The knight is putting pressure on f7. This bishop can go to f3. And what we see in the game, the knight on g5 is dangerous, so black attacks it with h6, knight e4, bishop b7. Attacking the knight on e4 and knight c5. Weird to have knights like this. So the c5 knight is so dangerous. Nakamura now takes it, and no queen trade. Let's block the d file with knight d5. And we have a really cool move here, rook a3. Getting the rook into the game along the third rank. Now Nakamura decides knight on b5 is pretty strong. Let's kick it away with a6, knight d4, knight e7. Cool move here. And a move like knight e7 has got 2 or 3 reasons. It clears the diagonal for the bishop. The knight can reroute itself. Maybe it can go to g6 to attack the white e5 pawn. It could go to f5. But also the d file is cleared. So black could castle queenside, or you could go rook d8, queen d2 and queen d5. So both queens attack both knights, but Nakamura plays a nice move here, queen d5, threatening checkmate on g2. And now Carlsen defends it with rook g3. No need to go bishop f3 because queen takes c5. And this bishop is defended by the knight. Rook g3. A really cool rook swing. On day 1, white played h4, then rook h3. But here, Carlsen played a4, then rook a3. Magnus loves his rook swings. Getting the rook into the game along the third rank. However, Magnus spent 12 minutes on this one move. Remember, both players start with 15 minutes on the clock. Rook g3 attacks g7. It defends g2. So, does Nakamura defend the g7 pawn? Just like in the first game? No. Amazing how in both games the themes are so similar. Queen takes c5, defending the knight and grabbing the pawn. b4 now played. Now one funky idea was queen f4. So we go queen d1 to d2 to f4. It's pressurizing f7. Maybe you can go to g4 to pressurize g7. But there's a rook on g3 already doing that. Now after queen f4, you can't castle because queen takes f7. So let's go knight d5 to attack the queen. If queen h4, stopping black castling. Let's go queen e7. And white can throw in this cool move, bishop g5. We can't take the bishop because the queen will take the rook in the corner, so let's go queen f8. Now the bishop on g5 is hanging, so bring it back, and now g5. Queen g4, and we can castle. Crazy position here. I just want to continue a little bit more because there's this crazy tactic The knight on a5 is hanging, so if we grab it, knight f4 is a brilliant move. If you go bishop c3 defending the knight, we can go rook takes d4. Wow. Bishop takes d4 and a brilliant move h5 attacking the queen. Queen only has one good square, queen takes g5, and then things drop. Knight takes e2 check, king h1, and knight takes d4, and here black is winning. 2 pieces for the rook. If black gets this in, I mean, it's just a dream position. h4 and then h3, using this bishop on this diagonal. So back to reality. Magnus chose b4. En passant forced. And not knight takes b3, but bishop a3. Really cool move here. It's a piece for a piece. The bishop attacks the queen. Now here Nakamura took it, but that was Carlsen's plan. Queen takes pawn. And here, Nakamura needs to play a move to defend the pawn on b3, because both the knight and the rook are attacking it, so he has to go bishop d5. And this bishop is on its perfect rock solid square. On d5, rook takes g7, just like in game 1. And here, Nakamura could have just attacked the rook with king f8. Rook moves, and then c5. This is still winning. Because if knight takes b3, bishop takes b3, queen b6 is a really cool attempt, because this queen and rook both attack the bishop. And it looks like white is going to get it back. You can't play c4 because bishop takes c4. But black has a brilliant move, queen a2. And notice both bishops are under attack. So if you grab this one, white loses that one. So rook takes g7 played, and Nakamura didn't go king f8, c5, why not? Attacking the knight. Once the knight moves away from that strong post, then black's just rolling on the queen side. He's got 2 pawns, the queen is there, so useful supporting it. The rook can support it from the back. Does Carlsen move it? No, because Carlsen sacrifices everything in this game. Bishop h5 attacking f7. Nakamura takes on d4. Rook f7, threatening a discovery. Let's get the king out the way. King d7. Is it safe there? Maybe. Bishop g4. Cool move. Threatening queen takes d5 check. So if black wasn't careful, then queen takes d5 works. You can't take with the knight because it's illegal. A pin along the 7th rank, and you can't take with the pawn because it's illegal. A pin along this diagonal. So a great move, bishop g4. Nakamura goes on a king hunt. And by king hunt, I mean king march. King c6, crazy move. There is no good check. The queen on a3 is perfect. It defends e7, so the rook can't take the knight. The queen defends the c1 square, so there is no rook c1 check. Amazing. Bishop takes e6, another sacrifice. Really, man. Really. Carlsen is just giving up everything in this game. Bishop takes pawn. Take, rook f6. Pinning along the 6. King d7. King back. Defend your bishop. Queen b6, 2 threats. Rook takes e6, or queen takes e6, or queen b7 check, winning the rook in the corner. Bishop d5, guarding the b7 square. Notice the queen can't go there because we got our queen still doing a great job on a3. Rook d6 check, king e8. Rook takes d5. Here we go again, another sacrifice. Carlsen just giving up everything in this game. Wow. Knight takes d5. And here, well, I've just highlighted the arrows because I needed this for the thumbnail to this video with all Nakamura's face to show the king journey that the black king is about to embark on. Knight takes d5. Here we go again. Queen c6 check, king e7 check, king e6 check, king e7 check, king e6 check. And here, no draw. King f5, what a move. You don't want to take the pawn because rook e1 check. No need to invite another piece into the party. And that is exactly what white needs. He needs another piece in the game, because he's only got the queen and the pawn. Queen takes d5. So maybe e6 check, and it could get a bit scary. Queen back. The queen has done such a good job on a3. Let's bring it back to e7. Help defend. e6 check. King g6. Now here, in the Chess24 commentary, Tanya Sachdev mentioned the impossible move here. The impossible rook move, rook c1. I guarantee you no human would make this move because of the following move. It looks like it just loses a tempo, b2. Once you see this, rook c1 and the b2, you say, ah, forget it, what's the point? How on earth can the rook get into the game? Because you can't move the rook, because black will get a queen. But first, queen f3 check. Let's just check this out. King g6, rook c6 check. There we go. Black doesn't have time to promote. King g7, check. King f8, check. King e8, check. King d8, check. And here, black has to keep on the back. Check, check. And we have this drawing pattern. And it's amazing because if black tries to win, he loses. So this will be the draw that Carlsen had, beginning with this impossible rook move. If you go the other way, check actually loses. King a7, check, and then that's it. Because now king b8 or king b7, check, and then mate. It's just incredible, this line. So Carlsen, being the human that he is, did not see this variation. e6 check, king g6, queen e4 check, king g7, queen takes d4, check, king g8, queen g4 check. Let's block with the queen to g7, queen c4, because there are no more checks and black is completely winning. He just needs to unravel, get the rook on h8 into the game. This is deadly. This is deadly. It can help out. Once we get this rook in, then we are a rook up. Queen c4, b2, f4, rook b8, queen e4, rook h7. Black can just move this queen out the way. You can go to a7, and then the rook can join in on the queen side to c7 to b7, support the pawn. Rook b1, queen b7, queen e2, and rook c7, game over. The rook is just going to come in to c1. That's it. Here is the table for day 2. This was the best game of the day. And from this table you can see it was 2-2 after the 4 rapid games, but then in blitz it was a draw, and then Carlsen won the last blitz game. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. If you think you've got a little bit better at chess, then subscribe to the channel, like the video as well. Make sure you hit that bell, because then YouTube will let you know when I release a new video.